the media is a very important element. And that is why those that were there earlier today, or earlier in the yesteryears, will remember that in 1982, when there was an attempted coup in Kenya, the first place that the guys that were trying to overthrow the government went to, they went to Voice of Kenya. And they took Leonard Mambo Mbotela and they told him, we want you to tell the world that Kenya is under new government. The system, the government of President Moi has been overthrown. Because they knew that whatever we say, whatever this person is going to relay, is going to be believed. Media is a very important tool. And that is why, even right now, we are witnessing politicians invest in millions in media platforms. Because they know that if we are able to get a media platform that will be able to speak for my agenda, of my progress, I'll be able to reach to the mass audiences. So media is a very important element. And we as an institution are mandated to regulate the operations of the media within the country, set standards and ensure compliance. Our different functions are on accreditation, where we accredit journalists, adjudication, where we resolve conflicts that emanate among the media space. We do analysis, where at the moment we have analysts that are spread around the country, analyzing content on the different media platforms. Advisory, we advise the government on regulations and different laws and guidelines that are there in media. Academy is where we train journalists and media entities. Advocacy is where we advocate for press freedom and maintenance of good ethics within the Republic. Our operations are within the country. We have offices in Nairobi, Mombasa, Meru. I'm really trying to rush because I've noticed I'm now behind time. So the media landscape, we are witnessing a scenario where the media landscape has grown. According to the CA, we have 261 free-to-air television stations. One public free-to-air television station, that is KBC. 9 community free-to-air television stations. Radio, we have 28 radio stations, 122 commercial stations, and over 100 newspaper outlets. That one tells you that the media space in Kenya has grown robustly. Kina Mwalimu here will tell you there was a time it was only KBC as the only platform of communication. And right now we are at a point where these are the numbers that we are witnessing, and they're growing by the day. What is regulation? It's a legal provision that creates limits or constraints rights, creates or limits a duty, and allocates a responsibility. Digitalization is the use of digital technologies to change a business model. There are different types of regulations that we have within the media space. The first one is self-regulation, where a system of self-regulation is where the media draws up their own regulations and take full responsibility. And this is the scenario where we have, like here in Kenya, where the media is called upon to regulate itself through the code of conduct that is developed by the council that stipulates how the media should operate within the Republic. Then we have statutory regulation, where the state is the regulator of the media. This is an example of this is what we have in France and also in India. Co-regulation is where now a hybrid of these two systems of regulation. Why is it important to regulate the media? It is important to regulate the media because, one, it ensures accountability and credibility of the media. Think of a scenario where we did not have rules, for example. Okay? Like here in school, for example. If we did not have rules, you are allowed whether to attend class or not. You are allowed whether on how you will even dress when you're going to class or not. Okay? In a scenario where you do not have rules, that is where tyranny comes in. Okay? And if we are not able to regulate the media space, for example, anybody will be sharing anything without fear. Because at the end of the day, someone will be like, who is going to ask me any question? Okay? Another importance is that it ensures dissemination of information that is guided by ethical principles of media practice. Third is that it promotes and builds professionalism in the media space. It also ensures that there is observance of the outlined code of conduct. that is developed by the Media Council, such that all media platforms, all media entities within the Republic are required to subscribe to this. And I want us to take for a minute and think about the last time you watched television, for example. Think of a scenario where the media space within the Republic would not be governed, where people would talk of anything that they want to, any topic of discussion. In a scenario where you're not able to limit or guide people on what to do and what not to do, that one now spells chaos. And in an election year like this one, we as a council, working with other stakeholders, are really, really committed in trying to ensure that the levels of professionalism within the media space are respected and observed. Those that were a bit old, in 2007, we witnessed violence in the country. And among the people that were implicated in the crimes against humanity was a radio journalist, Joshua Rapsang. While the charges were later dropped, it tells you about the power that the media has. My friend Benjamin, who has been to Rwanda, will tell you, in Rwanda in 1994, there was a genocide that claimed over 800,000 lives. Among the people, among the perpetrators was the media, a station called RTLM that had spread hate among the Hutus and the Tutsis. If you have a system where the media is not regulated, where anybody can say anything, and that is what we are telling, right now we are telling different media platforms out there, that yes, you're bringing people to your shows, you're bringing people to come and speak, but let them not cross the border and speak hate, messages of hate, of segregation, profiling one community against another. Another importance is that it deters away the systems of authority from censorship. Time and again, people will say that when you're having regulations, you are censoring the media. No, you're not censoring the media. You're just basically outlining guidelines on what should be or not should be done, which is very important. Think about, and I want you to think about it in the system like here in school. What if we did not have rules? Okay? Would you really bother going to class at exactly 8? Yeah, because after all, at ado, isn't it? But right now, if you do not attend class at ado, and you'll not be allowed to sit for an exam, isn't it? Yeah. Regulations are very important. And I know we have been, and today in the morning we were having a very heated discussion on a certain platform on people asking why some people should be allowed to go online and speak against one media or another, and yet we are not doing anything. And I will be coming to look at that on challenges that come with regulation. Because you have allowed people to express themselves, freedom of expression. But at the same time, you have told them that this freedom comes with some limitations. Every freedom in this world, every right in this world comes with a responsibility. You have a right to life, yes. You also have a right to pay taxes. Okay? And what are the trends we're witnessing in the media space? One, increased number of media and communication platforms. We've mentioned that. There are so many stations we have right now. So many stations. Nakuru alone has 14 different platforms, TV and radio. Okay? So many platforms are coming up just by the day. In 2015, when we had the digital migration, it provided an avenue where anybody who has the ability to apply for a license and get a system provider, he or she can start a TV or radio. Okay? Big numbers we're witnessing. Then a surge in reliance on the social media space. And I normally ask time and again, what is the headline today on the Daily Nation? Anyone? The headlines today? Daily Nation? Daily Nation? Okay, let's go Standard. Maybe by the dynamics of Kabarak, I should, standard, people daily. Okay, zimepita hizo tatu. Okay, now let's ask a much closer one. Who did Will Smith slap the other day? That one is a bit closer. Yeah, because that one people know, isn't it? Because it was on the social media space, but it was not on the newspapers. Okay? It is a discussion that was there. Okay? And there's so many examples I would use. Maybe time does not allow. But it tells you that we have moved away slowly from the traditional space of media to the online space. In January, we released the Status of Media survey that was done last year, and there is a decline in the use of the traditional media space. Reliance on the social media space as an entity of communication has grown. You ask around, how many trends do we have at the moment on Twitter or on Instagram? People will tell you. But you ask them about the conversations that are on the traditional system of discussion, and we do not have them. Okay? Naona karibu niletewe ile karatasi ya time. Okay? Okay. So new players in the media environment, and I was talking to some students out here, we are having so many new players in the media system. While before it was the traditional journalists, right now we have these ones we call the independent creative producers. Jugush. Okay? I believe we have a few people here who have subscribed to Njugush's page, isn't it? Through thick and thin, isn't it? But how many have subscribed to the monthly subscription, ya Daily Nation? Or Standard? There's a surge that people are moving to the online space. I remember there was a day we were having a discussion with Daktari here, and we were saying, if right now I say that I want to hold a Zoom discussion on something like that, like environment, I'll not have so many people. But if I take it to the Twitter space, and I say that I'll be having a discussion this evening of Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, I'll have numbers, isn't it? Why? Because everyone wants to move with the trend. Okay? If today I came and said I want us to discuss about, what does Benjamin teach? Hizo vitu za camera work and others. Very few people will go there, isn't it? Okay, we have a few who will go, but people do not want to go to those complicated things. How many people started a YouTube channel of cooking food when the pandemic had hit? So many people, isn't it? Some of us even got new recipes because everyone wanted something that is catchy, and that is what the social media space prevents. Something that is interesting. So the question is, now what do traditional media spaces do to move with the surge? That is why we are witnessing a scenario where TV and radio are now having online platforms. You go to YouTube, you find KTN Live, NTV Live. Okay? Because that is where people have gone to. Monopolization of the media space. One station has countless platforms. Okay? Look at Nation. There is NTV, Daily Nation. Okay? Go to Standard. There is Standard newspaper, KTN News, KTN Home, the Nairobian. The Nairobian belongs to Standard, isn't it? Yeah? Go to Radio Africa. We have enough platforms, okay? Media convergence, a scenario where we're having all these media under one platform, under one roof. And unsteady political, social, and economics. 2 years ago when the pandemic had hit, so many media houses had to close. And so many people went home, okay? This is what is happening in the media space, okay? I'm winding up. What are the challenges that we're having in regulation? Anonymity. Today you may wake up, open a Twitter page or a Facebook page, post whatever you want to post, then tomorrow that account is not there. Okay? One person has so many platforms, so many usernames, so many user profiles maybe on Twitter or on Facebook. Okay? Have you seen the pseudo accounts that are normally there? It's written Uhuru Kenyatta 1, okay? Just to make it a bit different. And you find a post there and you're wondering, did the president really say this? Okay? And then we also lack clear structures of regulating online content. The Cyber Crimes Act that was passed, and there was a ruling that was made just the other day in February, where several organizations like the Bloggers Association of Kenya were questioning some of the tenets of that act that will introduce what people are calling very punitive measures to deal with people that are spreading messages on the cyberspace. Okay? Then lack of observance to the stipulated codes of conduct. We have had this issue so many times. Okay? Issues of accuracy in relaying of information, independence, privacy. Then there's also the challenge of balancing between freedom of expression and censorship, where we say you can say this, but you can also not say this. Okay? There are some things you can't say. The government will say, no, that one is an issue of national security. But at the same time, the same constitution says that we have freedom of expression. So I have a right to go and ask the police officer or a KDF officer of what is going on in Somalia. But at the same time, we'll be told, no, that's a matter of national security. Then there's lack of clear identification of content producers and consumers. This is on issues of citizen journalism. Anybody right now with a very good phone can take a video, create an audio, and share it. While initially it used to be TV to people. Nowadays, we even have stations that are telling you, you have a clip, send it to us. Okay? Umeona news and then hapo juu inaleta amateur video. Umeona hiyo? That one tells you that this one was not done by a professional. It is someone on the streets who actually did it and shared it with the platform. Okay? Then there is interference by systems of authority on media regulation. Time and again. And that is why we as a council are even initiating dialogues with security agencies at times, where journalists have gone to cover something and they've been arrested. Okay? There was a time, was it last year, but one, Purity Mwambia did an expose on Citizen, Guns Galore. You remember? And DCI Kenya actually summoned her to go and record a statement. And we came out and we told DCI, no. The lady has a freedom of expression. Now it's up to you to take it from there. But the journalists cannot be accountable to the DCI. There was also an instance where People Daily journalists were summoned to Parliament to go and explain the story about MPs receiving bribes in the toilets. And then he said, no. If you have an issue with journalists, go through the correct channel, and that is through the Complaints Commission. Are we together? Yes. I think I have exhausted the additional time I was given. Thank you.
Okay, we want to appreciate Mr. Karanja for that. I've been lenient because he's the first person to speak. I didn't want to begin with chaos. So, sir, I also respect because I know our students would want some certification, accreditation, I think, with the organization. When they come, please treat them with a smiling face. Thank you. Let's appreciate him. Thank you very much. Sir, our plan is that after 6 presentations, we're going to allow for questions.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
Time and dynamics of work may not allow me to sit through.
Okay.
So if I would take one question, I will be okay. Just one question.
Okay. That's a special case.
One or two then.
We're inviting in a minute or two, in case you have any question or maybe you seek some clarification, please. The faster, the better.
Yes.
Yes, somebody to provide a mic for our friend there. Someone, we had an extra mic somewhere here. There was somebody who was helping us with this. Oh, some people, they seem to have taken a walk before time. You could give him this, maybe?
Thank you, sir, for the presentation. So my question is concerning the citizen journalism. Citizen or the Royal Media Services are currently calling for citizens who can participate in journalism. So as the Media Council of Kenya, how do you regulate the citizens' participation in journalism? Thank you.
It's that one. Okay, good. Allow me just to answer that one. While, you see, nobody is asking you not to also contribute, isn't it? But the back now falls on the media house. Whatever you provide to them as content, let it just be in line with the code of conduct. As simple as that. If there's no contravention of the code, well and good. Yeah. Because everything has to be guided by the code of conduct. Okay? Because that is where we now bring in our issues of regulation as a council. That have you observed the 24 codes inside there? Yes. Good. If not, now we now say you have contravened the code. Yes. Thank you. It was one question. Thank you. Mwalimu, please. There's a question here.
He's my friend. I think if I don't, I might not have peace, maybe.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Karanja. The question is, now, what is your take about political conflict? Will you say that it is supported by the media? The media somehow makes the conflict become so much, or how do you take it? What will you say about it? What is your position about that?
Thank you. If I wear the shoe of a teacher who teaches media, I will answer it in what we normally say, news values. What kills sells, isn't it? What bleeds reads, isn't it? That one is me answering as a teacher of media. But now when I answer as a regulator, I will say that, well, the discussion is still on that we all as the media have also been fanning the fire of hate or messages of discontent between political players, okay? And people are saying, when we did the status of the media survey, people are saying that why the level of trust has dropped in the media, part of it is because of the content that we are feeding to the people, okay? So if every day we keep regurgitating communication about politics, and you see when you go back to the agenda setting theory, it says that it is the media that sets the agenda for the public. So if today I keep talking about messages of discontent between politician A and B, that is what the people will be talking about. But if for 1 week we keep talking about agriculture, economics, and things that actually pertain to the local mwananchi, that is what people will talk about, okay? So I think I will politely say that the media has, at different times, provided the platform for such content to be talked about, discussed about, and heard about by the publics. Yes. Thank you. There's a question by the camera person. Just shout it.
According to our media rules, it's that we have to have a reporting whereby it's unbiased. But currently, because of the politics, if you become so keen, you will notice that RMS, okay, though I'm not part of that or any way possible there for now, RMS reports politics in a matter of biasness. The airtime to other individuals in politics versus the other time with other people in politics. According to media, there should be no bias. Furthermore, if you look into other media stations, they report at least fairly. But others, there is no. Another thing, before that, there's another thing also. As much as you are not BCLB, there is a rule also in media whereby you report, like, as a media or media organization, you ensure there's transparency. But what about the funny things that we see in media? Oh, send 55 bob, win 1 million. What about that? What do you do as media?
Okay. I might just round up the questions then. Yes. There's a question by Molim. Okay. Yes, just ask.
Thank you very much. I understand that you've said that the sole mandate of Media Council of Kenya is to regulate, especially the business of how media operates. I have a feeling that the Media Council of Kenya, it's mandated to regulate, but it has not been given enough powers. So for me, I would ask, could it be possible if you've been allowed either to take action instead of having to liaise with other institutions of government, so that if an organization or a TV has breached a certain code of operation, so you take action yourself instead of having to liaise with other, because we've seen even other institutions of government, especially the EACC, doing the same. Once they investigate and find out that someone has done something wrong, they have to liaise maybe with the DCI and the DPP. So the same case applies to you. So could it be possible for you to take action directly as an institution? Thank you.
There was a question by Molim.
Now, Mr. Karanja, I believe the council has teeth that cannot bite. When are you planning to sharpen these teeth so that we can see you to be working and see that the people who are against or breaking the laws are actually serving what is supposed to be done?
I would like to ask a question on regulation. You find that a radio station would prefer employing like a journalist who has a lot of presence or a lot of followers, not probably a journalist, but an artist who has a lot of followers in the social media than a trained journalist. What is your take on that?
Okay, in the interest of time, I know Mr. Karanja is going to spend a very short time to address those concerns, kindly. We are behind schedule, please.
Okay. I think we have teeth, Molemon. Anyway, on a light touch. Let's start with a question about fair coverage. The issue was raised by a section of politicians, And we actually wrote a letter to RMS about the same. And actually, out of the analysis that we have been doing, there is now better coverage of the candidates. Okay? There is. Actually, it's there. I can see him shaking his head, but it's true that it is true. Now it is balanced of all the horses in the presidential election. Okay? It's now balanced. Okay? You see, let me tell you the truth. While there is need for us to observe the different guidelines that are set there. But deep down, you also have to pay credence to editorial policies of different media houses. Okay? So while we will continue pushing for balanced coverage, and actually this one I'll tell you for true, it's that ever since that notice came out, there is now better coverage of the different political candidates. Okay? Teeth in problems. Now, we have 17 core functions as a council that are summarized into what the 6 A's that I have talked about. Our mandate as an organization is to promote professionalism, set standards, and ensure compliance. As an organization, that is where our buck stops. Okay? On what Mwalimu has talked about, and maybe what the other student mentioned, we do not have the mandate to now start making arrests. Okay? Hatuna hiyo section of the council ya kushika watu, kuwaeka ndani. Okay? Maybe because we have been reviewing, and I'm happy Daktari was part of the team, we were reviewing the media policy. Okay? And it came up as some of the suggestions that were shared. Okay? Now we will see whether they will be implemented by Parliament. Because you see, even our working as an institution is guided by the Media Council Act of 2013. Okay? That now gives us the powers to work here and here. Okay? So at the moment, we will issue the press releases, issue statements, call for actions. But now the part of arresting, maybe that one will leave to DCI. Okay? But it's true, as someone mentioned, we are working closely with these different stakeholders just to ensure that respect for the media is there. That one I'll tell you for free. Okay? We, together with other different stakeholders, are really working on that. And you see, our working will always be guided by our mandate. We may never overstep our mandate. Because you see, we are also created by an act of parliament, okay? So it is that act that gives us the power to do this and maybe not to do this. Sawa sawa? Yes. I'm happy.
I think we are at home with his responses. So we can comfortably appreciate Mr. Karanja again. Thank you for finding time to be with us. Thank you for addressing the biggest elephant in the media space, regulation. So as he actually clears the stage, I want to notify ladies and gentlemen that the next presentation is coming from Eric Evans Ocheng. Just for a reminder, it is titled The Role of Opinion Leaders in the Impact of Conspiracy Theories on the Fight of Coronavirus. I hope his PPT is going to be up soon. We can appreciate as he comes, please.
That's okay.
A reminder, Mr. Cheng, you've got 10 minutes. So use the shortest short time that you can afford.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So as you can rightly see, my name, I'm Eric. You can call me Evans. So I promise to take 9.5. I'll donate the other half to the next presenter. I'll not take 10 minutes.
I'll be glad for that.
Now, I'm here to talk about the role of opinion leaders on the impact of conspiracy theories on the fight against coronavirus. I know this is, corona has been an issue of discussion quite recently, ever since the first case was reported way back in 2019, I suppose. And several global leaders have had their opinion with regards to the corona issue. Politicians, the same. Just to mention but a few, even the church or the clergy. Now, to be precise, of course, the COVID-19, which is the coronavirus disease of 2019, I've mentioned about 2019, December, when the first case was reported. And as of May 2021, more than 165 million cases had been confirmed, with about 3.4 deaths reported worldwide. And of course, we know what corona did, maybe to us, and even disrupted most of the economies, Kenya included. And of course, in Kenya, the virus was first reported on what? On March 2020. And of course, thereafter, several cases had been reported. Now, coronavirus, you talk of HIV/AIDS, you talk about swine flu. Now, these are some of the contagious diseases that have always been reported, and several theories attributed to their very existence. Now, my study was biased towards the corona issue for one reason, that when you look at the way this virus has been treated, and the several theories here to mean the several narratives that have always been peddled. And of course, people have also, many quarters have argued that some of them are just based on innuendos, some of them are just hearsays, and even Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, at one point lamented that coronavirus was just a major joke. He referred to it as a hoax. That was the biggest joke of the century, that there was nothing like corona. Of course, later on, he changed his standing with regards to the corona issue. And we've seen several world leaders, because when this disease, or when this virus was first reported, people never knew how to best maybe go about it. Even those advanced countries like the United States. And for information, the USA was one of the biggest, they were the worst hit country with the coronavirus, leave alone these underdeveloped countries in terms of the management. Now, besides that, even if you look at some of the countries, the African countries like Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, and even Madagascar, there is also how they try to handle this COVID-19. And even though some of these leaders were also very skeptical about what really, as to what the virus. Therefore, if you look at the last bullet, that the situation was different in Madagascar in terms of the health practitioners worked tirelessly with the aim of developing the COVID-19 vaccine. And of course, we know that despite that, even the World Health Organization never approved of that. It was called what? Organic what? Medicine that was being suggested by Madagascar. And we saw our neighboring country, Tanzania, even imports some of those vaccines but it never worked. Now, when you look at all those efforts, several world leaders, the clergy, or that is the church, they made different pronouncements with regards to what really the corona is, but ours is to look at what did these, or what are the world leaders, these opinion leaders doing, and their actions with regards to now what informs the narratives that now people peddle around with regards to how best to do what? To mitigate this virus. And we've seen varying levels of what? Varying levels of narratives. And we are just going to look at them shortly. Now, there are two objectives of this study, and I use the what? I use the research questions. And the two questions were that what are the communication inaccuracies about the origin of the virus? And as you know, even to date, nobody has ever told us even how this virus came to be. But of course, at least according to the World Health Organization, they acknowledge and agree that it emanated from what? From China. Now, what role did opinion leaders play in mediating the impact of the conspiracy theories? Now, the conspiracy theories is what I've mentioned, that I'm looking at it with regards to what? With regards to the narratives that have been always peddled. Now, when you look at a conspiracy, what is conspiracy? It simply means a secret. And it is something that denotes something negative or bad. And according to Vusochi, thought on conspiracy has been highly associated with traditional media like TV, radio, newspapers, as well as the digital media, including the internet and social media. And of course, my study majorly focused on the what? On the social media, in particular, Twitter and Facebook. That is what informed my methodology. Now, if you look at also at what the experts also said here, and if you look at the World Health Organization, that's WHO, experts warned people on believing the COVID-19 conspiracy theories, and they termed them as deadly, since they would kill people. And in fact, if I am to quote the Director General World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, he tweeted that coronavirus was more lethal than any other terrorist attack, and that he rallied the world in unison to have some unity of purpose to try and defeat the invisible what? Enemy. Again, of course, if you look at, I've mentioned about former President Donald Trump, of course, dismissing the virus as a major joke and termed it as an attempt by his competitors to deflate his re-election campaign. You know, it came in during the time when the United States were gearing towards an election. And of course, we saw that those engagements between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, where now the Republicans were accusing the Democrats of trying to use the COVID issue to try and settle political scores. And of course, Joe Biden, again, was among the first world leaders even to take the vaccine. Of course, apparently, to try and demystify those myths, those narratives, that even the vaccine was deadly and it would not be ideal for people to do what? To take that. Of course, we saw that the likes of Obama and even locally, we find President Uhuru Kenyatta and other great leaders of our republic also taking what? The vaccine. And again, Donald Trump took to his social media, because before his Twitter account was suspended, it was very, very what? It was very, very used to posting. It was so much on Twitter, and he would post literally all communication. And he took up social media pages, especially on Twitter account, to castigate his perceived opponents of trying to ruin his election campaign by peddling lies and innuendos about the what? About the virus. So again, we see that, and of course, he alleged in one of the tweets that he did the best he could as the president, and he did an incredible job. And in fact, he was trying to look at the best way he handled he tried to contain the virus vis-a-vis the predecessor, that is Joe Biden and Obama's administration, on how they handled the what? The swine flu and all that. So in essence, you find that again, Donald Trump, as one of the key leaders, having a huge following on social media, also propagated some of these conspiracy theories, one of them being the right-wing conspiracy theory. We talk of the hashtag Film Your Hospital theory. And of course, him and his staff even publicly violated some of the COVID protocol, including the wearing of the masks during those formative days. But later on, he even appeared in the media wearing masks, at least to try and bring or show some solidarity. Now, with regards to methodology, it starts to do with the research design is descriptive. The study was premised on conspiracy theories on situations of uncertainties. Of course, the case of COVID-19 pandemic. The sample, of course, the sample size and sampling is, of course, the the tweets, the Facebook posts, of course, on social media, and the duration. I picked March and August 2020. At least that was at least 3 months, almost 3 months since the first case was reported. So that is when the period when at least there were several cases and world leaders were trying to comment or talk about, there are several narratives about the COVID-19. And of course, in terms of data analysis, of course, textual analysis of these tweets, of course, there are several findings that were evident or are evident, of course, some of them being most of these conspiracy theories, like COVID being manufactured in a lab in China, that it came out as a result of the 5G mobile network through radiation would cause COVID-19. And of course, again, that it was transmitted from, it emanated from bats, you know, and when the consumption of these, the bats is a delicacy in China. So again, that was also another perceived origin. So again, so when we look at these theories, we tend to see that there was some concerted efforts to try and peddle some narratives that the COVID in itself, nobody knows to date the real root cause of this, but it came at a time when people were so much in panic, people feared for the worst. Of course, we've also seen even of late, there are still cases being reported, though not as fatal as it used to be before. And in conclusion, I've jumped some slides because I'm told that my time is up. So the conspiracy is a serious issue of this day and age. And of course, any information with regards to this should be disseminated, especially when it comes from world leaders that we look up to. Again, verifiable information, and again, because we also have followers. And even if you look at some of these data that we're analyzing, most of these tweets would generally inform people's behavior and decision-making, and thereby even negating the very essence of what? The very essence of combating the virus. So I rest my case because my time is up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cheng. Let's give him a round of applause. Yeah, the nature of this presentation, he could not do much. I think wait for his paper when it's out. I'm sure you can have a better scholarly intercourse with his paper. Thank you so much, Mr. Cheng. There is some sudden change of the program. Our teaching staff have a feeling that I think we have to give chance to our students to actually make their presentations, because this conference is basically yours. So in that regard, we are going to give credence to student presentation. And so, in that particular order, of course, we have, I think it should be Chelsea. Chelsea? Are you good to go? Yeah, please. 10 minutes, okay? Our timekeeper, you warn us when it is 8 minutes, so that now the 2 minutes become part of the contingency for whoever that will be presenting that particular time. Thank you. So as they prepare, the next, of course, we have Joshua. Joshua, are you around? Let's confirm. Some of these people, okay, great. And then we've got Mercy Sowek and Mercy Sowek et al. And the rest, where are they? Oh, great. They're here. So I think you'll be on the standby so that we do not waste time between switchings.
All protocols observed. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. So I'll be taking you through media economics in the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, a Kenyan perspective. So quickly, I'll lay ground on the definition of media economics and management. Media economics refers to the business transaction and financial activities of the organization, producing and selling products into the various media industries, while media management is an area of business administration that deals with organizing and supervising teams of media professionals. So quickly, I'll start by introducing. This paper sought to assess the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the news media environment in Kenya. The study examines the pre-existing crisis of the traditional news media business model, investigate the impact of digitalization on news media, analyze the changes in the media regulation and financial policies during the COVID-19. Past research indicates that the traditional business model of news media, the two-sided market building on revenues from advertisers and readers, is in a deep crisis that threatens both the quality of journalism and diversity in the media landscape. With an increase in internet penetration, news has become readily available for free, and the willingness to pay for content is visibly dwindling. So in a nutshell, I'll take you through on how the traditional business model of news media has been affected by the onset of the pandemic, COVID. So quite quick, I'll give you a synopsis of. So since the onset of COVID-19, the traditional forms of media have been affected. This gave birth to the online platforms such as Google and Facebook. And actually, according to AGCOM, Google, Facebook, and other online platforms are appropriating a large quantity of the media's former advertising revenues, as they control more than 50% of the digital advertising market worldwide. So a while ago, a long time, the traditional forms of media would acquire their advertising revenues, but since the onset of COVID-19, the online platforms acquired revenues via advertising. Digitalization, however, has made it increasingly hard for news media to rely on revenue streams that can support their operations in the long run. While the news was increasingly consumed online, news producers were still relying on the kinds of revenue models they employed in analog times, such as advertising and print sales. These income sources, however, have been dwindling, while the introduction of new revenue forms did not eventuate as quickly as hoped. The COVID-19 pandemic increased the demand for information and gave a boost to digitalization. So I have 3 research objectives. One, to examine the pre-existing crisis of the traditional news media business model, to investigate the impact of digitalization on news media, to analyze the media regulation and financial policies during the COVID-19. So my literature review, the media environment in Kenya is complex and relatively advanced. Media development in Kenya has been intricately linked to the country's history from colonial times to the present. The 2 biggest newspapers in Kenya today, for instance, have their beginnings in colonial Kenya with one, The Standard, viewed as a tool for elitist control and maintenance of hegemonic status quo, while The Nation was viewed as a direct response to colonialism. According to The Nation's principal shareholder, Prince Karim Aga Khan, he founded the paper to be part of the pro-independence conversations. My literature review, in a nutshell, is based on how the owners of the media companies. Like, for example, The Nation is owned by Aga Khan. The Standard is associated with the Moi family. I'll take you through the various media forms. I'll begin by television in Kenya. So the television in Kenya it wasn't quite affected with the COVID, with the pandemic, but it began being affected in 2015 during the digital migration. This meant that the content production for TV was separated from content or signal distribution, thus resulting in the opening up of the broadcast space for other players who had until then found the cost of distributing TV content to be prohibitive. So in my understanding, the television network in Kenya, the television corporations in Kenya wasn't affected during the COVID-19 pandemic, but was rather affected in 2015 during the digital migration. Radio in Kenya. Radio is the main source of information in Kenya. The country has 158 licensed radio stations, which are all on air. In Kenya, even though there is a substantial concentration of radio stations in urban areas, there is a significant reach in rural areas through 54 private vernacular radio stations broadcasting in 19 different languages. Of concern, though, are 3 interlinked factors. Some of the radio stations are ill-equipped, many are poorly staffed, and most are either owned by or associated with politicians. This affects the functionings of the radio. Because take a look at the radio stations that are owned by politicians. They just can't air anything, maybe concerning the politicians. They won't be able to air anything concerning the matter. So in Kenya, I'll go to the next quick. Print media in Kenya. There are 6 daily newspapers in Kenya, namely the Daily Nation, Standard, Star, People's Daily, Business Daily, and Taifa Leo. The People Daily is a free news publication. Taifa Leo is a Swahili language publication, while the rest are English language newspapers, with Nation having dominant leadership. There are other minor non-daily publications, which we all know, and the newspaper circulation has been declining since 2013, with an even worse prognosis following movement restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Actually, yesterday's speaker mentioned that newspapers one may say that in 10 years newspapers may not exist somehow, but even though in the coming years newspapers may not be that effective, but we should still have it in mind that newspapers contribute to the country's revenue, 70%, about 70%. So social media in Kenya. Kenya has an active social media space reflective of the variety of information audiences need and the culture of online content consumption. So social media leads as 80% of all respondents sampled use social media for news and information. In fact, Geopol concludes the most preferred source of news and information was social media and the internet among male respondents and those aged 18 to 34 years. Females, on the other hand, preferred television, whereas those aged 35 years and above preferred radio. So, quickly,
A reminder, your time is up,
Yes,
but
in
you
conclusion-
can conclude in a short while.
In conclusion, I'll give you the results and the conclusion. Past research indicates that the traditional business models of news media, the two-sided market building on revenues from advertisers and readers, is in a deep crisis that threatens both the quality of journalism and the diversity in the media landscape. With the increase in internet penetration, news has become readily available for free, and the willingness to pay for content is visibly dwindling. In the meantime, Google, Facebook, and other online platforms are appropriating a large quantity of the media former advertising revenues as they control more than 50% of the digital advertising market world, thus increasing the risk of media availability. So in conclusion, since social media usage has been greatly increasing during the COVID-19 pandemic, it would be wise enough if the media stations in Kenya sync in and incorporate the social media platforms. This can be done by having e-papers, online radios. This will help increase the slowly declining traditional media forms. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. A better round of applause, especially for a student. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. We shall allow for reactions later if time allows. But for now, I want to usher in the next presenter. From my list here, I think it is Joshua. Joshua, I want to confirm if Ian Mwebia, if you are around. Okay. Then Joshua, Wangure, and I hope the next name is yours. Yeah, it is. Okay. Joshua with whom? There's a name that you can only write. Okay. Thank you. The name is Sim Mavisi. So Joshua, you've got 10 minutes, and once you hit your 8 minutes, he's going to raise the red. Not the red, but the warning flag, so that you conclude in the next 2.
Good morning. Good afternoon. We are here to present on media and political communication, and we did examine the media usage during political participation and campaigns. So our intention in this study was to examine how political communication is done in Kenya and how correctly it is done to scrutinize the role of media in political communication. Now, our aim was to find the level ground for the media and journalists, shielding them from political influence and intrusion. But media has to pay a price if we have to detach ourselves from political communication. And our question is, at what price are we going to pay? So the idea is not to abolish politics from media, but to set standards and red zones for the political players on matters concerning their media presence.
Okay, we are going to look at the state of political communication in Kenya. One thing to note is that public rallies are the dominant method that political players use when they are selling their agendas to the mwananchi. They invest a lot of money on the rallies, and the politician need the media presence so that the media can package the message and disseminate it to the audiences. Mass media cannot be negated by the politicians because mass media has access to wide audiences. Mass media has access to a more diverse audiences. So politicians, when they are at the rallies persuading the wananchis, they need the presence of the media to package and disseminate the information to the audiences.
There are low levels of professionalism as far as mass media is concerned. And when we talk about professionalism, let's think about the divisive politics that we see in our media, the personalized, the dramatized, and decontextualized politics that we get through our media. And we'll define the meaning of professionalization of political communication. And a scholar called Cis Hamelink said that professionalization of political communication is a process linked to societal change in the political process, in the performance of mass media, and the mediatization of politics. Another scholar, Bacha, said that professionalization of political communication is a process of adaptation and such as a necessary consequence of change in the political system on one side and the media system on the other side and their relationship between the two systems. So as you look into these two definitions, when you want to professionalize political communication, you have to fix the media. And therefore, there's a need for revolution and redefinition of the relationship between media and political communication. And how will we redefine the media? The media goes wrong on the way we get the news of the day. And media, what we say by news of the day, the media primes political events, disseminates it, and then disseminates the fragments of the events as news of the day to their vast audience reach. But our media is crafty on how they frame these events. There's someone who talked about media being biased, but most of the people cannot notice that media is biased, but they are so crafty on how they give us those news of the day. And Neil Postman asserted that the content of the news of the day made it possible to move decontextualized information over vast spaces at very incredible speed. Although media in its form is best suited for fragmentation. The fragmentation is not wrong, but whatever we fragment is wrong. So to politics, media is not only a channel of communication, but it's about what media does, how it does, and that impacts the politics and the practice.
Okay. On the effects of mediated politics to audiences, one thing to note is that individuals process information from the media differently, based on their selective perception, which are influenced by variables such as past experiences, family background, education, or interests. There's also the audience are heavily dependent on the media, and it has significantly increased, especially with regards to the new media. So with this in mind, it's okay to say that media affects individuals' decision-making process. Some data here. This is the data of radio and television. When you look at the graph at its peak, you notice that at the radio as a medium, it was peak at 7 a.m. Television, it was peak at 7 p.m. One thing with this time is that these are both prime times. So with so many people accessing the media at this time, and it's prime time, and during prime time it's mostly news, and the news in Kenya is mostly fragments of political statements and acts. So with the audience being exposed to political messages at this high rate, it will influence their decision-making process. On the recommendation, based on what we have just said, we recommend that gatekeepers should serve the audience with fragments of political events that are most objective with the least effect. Other recommendation is that the media should be self-regulated within the frameworks of the law.
Also, the new media tech companies offering services in Kenya, maybe Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those companies should offer services, should put in mechanisms on how to censor and approve content, more so political content, before upload. The content should be examined based on effects it holds on society, should not be offensive, leading to practices such as crime, civil disorder, or violence. The use of sophisticated internet censorship tools, as demonstrated by China, the Great Firewall, will secure the future of internet. Therefore, the media should not be affiliated to any political group or show bias. And there should be oversight of mass communication by independent bodies on political reporting, as suggested by William Hatchen. And the body should be formulated by professional journalists and political communication experts. The media should also educate the audience. And Stanley Barron, said that media literacy is a skill that is learnable and can be practiced. So it's the ability to effectively and efficiently use and comprehend mediated communication. We also recommend that citizenry should be the custodian and take part in revolutionary process, cutting across politics and media. The new media, such as Twitter, provides such platforms for revolution through hashtags. Also, we should discourage concentration of ownership in media industry, thus reducing the control of media by elites. So I had some food for thought for you guys. One, look at media as a river. Media as a river that is slowly polluted and has suddenly become toxic. The water in the river has become dangerous for life, but one may take a boat and still ride on it. Depending on how you use the water, then you'll be affected. Who has intoxicated that water? Politics and political communication have become a top-down activity that presents voters with choices just as consumers, and just as consumers are presented with products, according to Holzbacher. And this means that our politics are more of marketing and personalization other than issue-based reality. We can criticize our media because it does not serve us with our 21st century needs. Such needs, our today's society fancies making independent decisions without third-party interference and without today's society likes making independent decisions, but these decisions should not be interfered. But we make decisions based on available facts. Also, media is a metaphor working by inconspicuous but powerful implications to enforce their special constructed reality. If the metaphor no longer serves us, the nature of matter claims that we will find others that will. For any tool created, an idea beyond its function is embedded, and therefore, discourse should be coherent, serious, and rational. That's our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's quite an effort. Joshua, thank you with your friend called Sim. It's a good presentation. I think whoever that is mentoring you is doing a good job. Okay, I want us to straight away go to the next presentation. And this one is quite a team. There is Angel Wanjala, Mercy, there are two Mercies. This group is very merciful. There's Mercy Lelgo, Mercy Cherono, and Mercy Sowek. I think as pair, of course, their presentation is up there. You can see it. Now, Mercy, you have 10 minutes. And by the time you consume your 8 minutes, the timekeeper will indicate. How are you going to indicate, sir? He is going to snap his fingers. That means you'll have to conclude in 2 minutes, okay? Okay, thank you.
In 2017, a series called 13 Reasons Why was showcased. And the series contained a story about a girl called Hannah Baker who committed suicide and left a note of 13 videotapes of 13 reasons why she committed suicide.
So let's come to this scenario. Think of this person who is at the edge of, depression. And this guy or this girl was watching this video, right? What is the capable thing that this person or this guy would do after watching that thing? This brings us to our topic of today, and that is effects of the media on mental health that has led to the increase in depression and anxiety among the youths in Kenya. I'm your presenter, Cherono Mercy.
And I am Angel Wanjala, and the project was done by Mercy Lelgo, Mercy Sowek, under the supervision of Dr. Ruth Owino.
Thank you.
Now, we all know the three main purposes of media. If I'm to ask you right now, what are the three functions of media, you will tell me to inform, to entertain, and to educate. But in the past studies, and even up to where we are right now, media has been used by students for more of entertainment than it is to educate and to inform. This means that if university students use media as a form of entertainment, whatever it is that is written there, whatever it is that has been stated by the media is what they will take as it is. Digital migration has enabled an easy access to media platforms, as many people can now gain access to information and easily socialize using the media.
Mm-hmm. It has permitted the media to diversify in quantity, as there are more media platforms as well as quantity in that. Media production has enhanced in terms of video and sound clarity, and that one you know, right? It, however, carries with it drawbacks, which are heavily evident among the youths in Kenya. What are kind of these drawbacks, the negative things? You know them. What are they? Just a shout. Just give me a shout. Just, what can be the negative effects of the media?
Addiction.
Trolling. See, you know them. So stop sitting like you don't know them. You know them. So this study sought to examine the role of the media in mental health among the youths in Kenya. These are our objectives: to examine how the youths in Kenya engage with the media, to assess the media conceptualization of mental health, to determine media's responsibility in creating awareness, support, and interventions on mental health, then to establish the media effects on mental health amongst the youth in Kenya.
To our literature review, we looked at the magic bullet theory, which portrays media as a gun and the content as the bullet. And in this theory, the people who are receiving, the audience, is taken as passive, which means that everything that the media says is taken as gospel truth. Back to our example on 13 reasons why. If a person who is going through depression is to watch 13 reasons why and sees that this girl was able to leave a videotape giving reasons as to why she committed suicide, and it is being portrayed as if it is something that can happen, then there's a high possibility that this person who is depressed will do the same thing. We looked at some of the examples that we had, and we put a hyperlink, which because of time we won't use, but it was a story about a woman who committed suicide and left a list of reasons why she committed suicide. I don't mean to say that the person probably watched 13 reasons why, but if you look at how it was pre-media, people were not committing suicide, leaving reasons why they were committing suicide. So that we leave it as thought for you. We also looked at a story that was done by a standard journalist 7 years ago, and his title was, his first line was, "I do not understand how depression can be an African disease." In that news story, he was explaining about a famous person who had committed suicide, and he was saying, this is simply not something that should happen in Africa. His claim was, if depression was a real thing in Africa, then there would probably be more mental health places than there is gynecologists, than there is doctors. A person who reads that will not be able to express themselves and to come out and say that, you know what, I am going through depression, because of what the media will have based, because of what the media will have stated concerning depression. So, as per our relationship, we connected it in that if the audience is passive, then media does play a big role in enhancing or in increasing depression and anxiety, because whatever it is that we consume is what is taken in. So we did a study with 98 students in Kabarak, and we asked them various questions about what they thought as a relationship between depression and media.
So that is what our research methodology was about. We encompassed relevant open-ended question, closed-ended question, and the fill-in-the-blank questions. We incorporated the Beck Depression Inventor, second edition, that is the BDI. It is a test that is online, that it has some questions where you go and answer, then it will give you like the percentage of depression you're using. So some people took some tests and some we used the questionnaires. And from that, we could sample that most people, they are suffering. Some are mild, some are already depressed, and some cannot tell because you have nobody to talk to. So this study sampled a total of 98 respondents. 79 of them were students from Kabarak University. So that was our scope, because we couldn't, serve the whole country, right? So that was our scope of study. We used the people in Kabarak University.
In accordance to our study, we found that majority of the users use WhatsApp, and then Twitter, and then Instagram. Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, and the rest had a low percentage, because most of the time, us as youths, we're usually spending most of our time in WhatsApp, Twitter, and Instagram.
In your phone, ukifinya hapo kwa tabs, tab yenye inaonekana hapo ya kwanza ni gani? Si ni WhatsApp ama Instagram? Ndio hiyo.
As per our study, we found that if we had 98 people, and 79 were from Kabarak, 19 people. We used Instagram and we did a tally. From what we found, most of the people we found were either mildly depressed or were really depressed. And we asked them how the internet has, or how the media has contributed to them being depressed. And they gave us answers like trolling. And they told us that sometimes you can post your picture on Instagram, and 90% of the comments are either about how magoti yako ni black kushinda mwili yako, ama, you know, her hairstyle. She could look good, but because of the hairstyle, that's the only thing people are going to highlight. And most of them say that they cannot be able to express themselves because the media, especially in Africa, and more so in Kenya, has portrayed an image that mental health is not something that is termed as an African disease. So, in conclusion to that, we gave recommendations to the media, to the youth, to the university administrators, and we also gave recommendations for further study to anyone who would want to do more on mental health. To the media, we told them we would recommend that they make mental health sensitive articles. And our example was on the one that depression is not an African disease. If the person would have talked about it and brought an introduction on how it is coming to Africa and given a platform for someone to express themselves, then right now we'd be having a different story on mental health in Kenya. We also saw a site like Befriend Us Kenya, and we suggested that it could be put under a search engine, that when someone is depressed, when they go to Google and type, I am feeling depressed, the first thing that would come up is the story of Africa is not a place where people go through depression, or they'll only find stories of people who have committed suicide in Kenya, which was done by Standard and Nation and all that. But what if Befriend Us Kenya would be the first thing that would come up when someone Googles, I am depressed?
In the recommendation to the universities administration, the first one was, mental health training. Like, let us make it something to normalize. Sindo, it is not until an event is created about mental health ndo tunaanza kujua, kumbe kuna mental health. Sindo, let it be something normal. Just the way, you wake up, you go to the mess, you go to class. Let it be something part of us. We'll, reduce it. And even administer self-help lines, like, there should be, neutral people who you can just go and talk to them. And those people should, protect their anonymity and don't go and spread out what someone has told you. If you don't want to help, just leave it, right? Yeah. So even recommendation for further study, there should be need for an in-depth study on the nature of media use so that we just don't put the negative side, and yet we don't know really what causes them. Sindo? So there should be, a further in-depth study on the media use among the youth.
And as the youth, that is all of us who are here, we should create friendly spaces with each other in various media platforms. Do not be the person who is trolling another person in Twitter or in Instagram. And you should be able to report any form of abuse that you find in your various social media platforms. And also, as future journalists, we should create spaces in the media where we make it safe for people to discuss about how they're feeling, about their mental health, and come up with issues and various strategies that people can use instead of just writing everyday articles about how people are committing suicide without an answer. That is all we had for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a good presentation. It really fits the time because the youth are so much affected by a lot of psychosocial issues, and much of them are coming from the media. So as we expect the next group, you can meditate on that. The young people are always, they get upset by very minor things that they come across. Things that are so minor, like when you send somebody a text message on WhatsApp, and as you say it, they blue tick without responding. That is stress to you. So your study is actually so much at home. Thank you. Our next group, it happens that the same people are appearing here. Joshua, are you ready for the next? Joshua, you're good? Because you're ready for the next? Okay, then get the ball rolling. This is a challenge to the other students. If you don't take your space, another person will take it multiple times. It's a big challenge.
Okay, our next study. Okay, our next study, we did a topic called Next Generation of Filmmaking, New Markets, New Methods, and New Business Models for the Sustainability of the Film Industry. First things first, let's know what next generation of filmmaking is. And this is audiovisual content that is feature-length and mainly produced, distributed, and consumed via the internet and virtual worlds. All of you seated here, when you want to venture, let's say make a film, you can be classified as a next generation of filmmaker. Why? I'll be right to say that you don't have the necessary funds. You cannot compete with huge studio models like in a Warner Bros. Yeah? Your funds are limited. Two, now I'm giving a definition of a next generation of filmmaker. This is a person who can be classified as semi-professional, is not yet there as far as filmmaking is concerned. It's similar as a freelance. The next generation of filmmakers are often independent producers, and the production is always done by a small crew.
So the internet has made it possible for the filmmakers to bypass traditional distributors and deliver movies directly to end customers through new technologies such as video on demand, or what we call VOD. I hope everyone knows what VOD is, or video on demand.
Now, video on demand, these are digital platforms that offer content on the go. There are three business models that online film distribution use. The first one is micropayment pay-per-unit model. An example of this is, I'm sure you've interacted with let's say a filmmaker makes a film, then develops a website, then he or she posts the film on the website. Then you purchase the film, the link, that one film. You purchase it, then you stream it. That one can be classified as micropayment pay-per-unit model. For example, Abel Mutua last year, he made a film together with his company. It was called A Grand Little Lie. They developed a website. Then they uploaded the film there. Then the fans were able to access the film at a fee and stream it. The second model is subscription video on demand. A good example is Netflix. This is where you pay a subscription, a certain fee a month for you to access unlimited catalog of content. The third model is advertising dependent model. For example, YouTube. YouTube, you don't pay any money of any sort for you to access YouTube content. You view content, and YouTube will generate money via the advertisement that will pop up as you interact with the content. So, as Joshua said with the previous slide, the internet has made it possible for filmmakers to bypass traditional distributors. So this in its sense, it has brought democratization of tools of distribution. When you look at this diagram here, when you democratize the distribution channels, the audience have more access to film. There's the democracy. Hence, for example, suppose there was no online mediums for distributing content, only the traditional, that is TV and maybe cinema. You, as a small filmmaker, your film will never be seen by the world. But thanks to online, for example, you can place your film on YouTube and your audience will see. That's what I mean by democratization of tools of distribution. You can see when you democratize the tools of distribution, there's more access to niches which fatten the tail. By fattening the tail, I mean that there's more content.
And more content down here. So social media can be used to market films as well as distribute them. As we know, Instagram, YouTube, and filmmakers can also build audiences using the social media, whereby filmmakers are able to gain fan base and following through social media. And they not only earn from film, but also monetizing their social media platform. Also, engagement with audience via social media is important for a filmmaker. For any filmmaker, you should be vibrant in social media. And also Instagram, whereby you should engage with their audience in terms of having Instagram lives. On Twitter, you should participate on hashtags that are based on film maybe. And on YouTube, there's also YouTube Live, and also comment on your, also reacting to comments on your pages. That's how you can engage with your audience and just know what your audience want from you. You are just a content creator, they are the audience, they are the consumers. Give them what they love.
On to the sustainable business models. There's an interesting business model that we came across. It's called do-it-yourself business model. This model can be used by a next generation of filmmaker. A next generation of filmmaker, this person he cannot compete with the likes of Warner Bros. Or Fox Studios. His funds are limited. So this business model, distribution of film will be done via digital platforms, and he'll receive funding from family, friends, and electronic means such as crowdfunding. What is crowdfunding? In layman's term, crowdfunding is raising money online. For example, a platform like Kickstarter launches a campaign using social media, then your fans or people who buy your vision will contribute towards the cost and will get money for your film. But this concept is relatively new in Kenya, and more awareness needs to be done. Examples are Kickstarter Kenya, Mchanga, and Pesa Pesa. You can see the data of crowdfunding volume as of 2014. Film and performing arts received 12.13% of the total volume. There's more opportunity for growth in these numbers. In conclusions, we recommend that a clear regulatory framework needs to be put in place by the government on this crowdfunding financing model. And also, next generation of filmmakers should also consider niche genre filmmaking. And filmmakers should embrace digital distribution platforms for their distribution of films.
We will still insist on filmmakers to incorporate social media, because we are a next generation filmmaker, and next generation is social media and not new media, as we were told in previous presentation. That was a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Silence. We seem to be having two counties in this hall. There is a county here that is well excited. There's another county the other side that seems worried. I cannot establish the difference, but I believe going forward we shall get to know. Okay, that is good. We now have 3 presentations, then I'm sure we are going to have a break. So because it's well past lunch hour, it is good that we have a pointer to when we can finish. So I want to welcome the next presentation from Wesley. Wesley. Wesley and Lucy. Wesley and Lucy. And the area of concern is up there. Thank you so much for being so much. You are very swift in putting up the PowerPoint. That's a beautiful work. Thank you. So the concern is that media and communication, the 2022 strategic communication in post-COVID world. Post-COVID world.
Hi, everyone. So we had this topic of strategic communication in post-COVID-19 world. The emergence of COVID-19 led to one of the biggest global health crises. The media coverage highlighted multiple social, cultural, and economic issues arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. Media became the major source of information by significantly tracking and updating through live updates dashboard, allowing timely interventions, enabling a rapid and widespread reach of public health. This study will therefore focus on the communication strategies employed by the Kenyan government in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic, which my colleague Wesley will expound on.
On our literature review, we study some of the publication to establish what the strategic communication is, and the strategic communication calls for purposeful use of communication to fulfill mission of the organization. And this is according to HELAM 207. Strategic communication helps the organization to understand how to effectively deliver its message to a key audience. This study will also therefore establish how strategic government communication is bridging communication gap brought about by the pandemic. Just to give a brief history of strategic communication, as described by Rose and Richard 2008, they found out that the strategic communication were formed in 1980 to respond to challenges of creative revolution in the US and Europe to advance the discussion about competency-based approach in education of the 21st century. And therefore, this paper captures some of the gaps and challenges that existed in the government communication during the post-COVID era. When the COVID-19 started, there was a lot of misinformation and spread of fake news about the disease. Therefore, it was an opportune time for strategic communication to debunk the myths and counter misinformation by providing reliable information. This study also captures some of the gaps, challenges that existed during the communication in this era of post-COVID.
Therefore, revamped communication strategies to meet the following government objectives. Number one is to educate people and encourage them to be vaccinated as the best prevention, and empower all the citizens with the necessary information to enable them to be in charge of their health, and to practice self-defense by following the Ministry of Health guidelines and measures. Then we have when COVID came, the media used, the government used the traditional media to pass information, and this is through radio, television, newspaper, online platforms, and even through SMSs. Communication strategies that can reduce COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy are, they were daily presidential and ministers' press briefing. Ministry of Health website was designated for COVID-19 information. Media coverage of president and government officials taking COVID vaccines. Radio and TV campaigns, countering misinformation, and use of social media influencers to increase vaccine uptake. So these are the opportunities and challenges that were faced. It is evident that social media is the greatest influencer when it comes to the COVID-19 issue and the communication, and has a wider audience reach, increasingly difficult to control and spreading fake news about COVID vaccine, multiple channels and controlled spread of information which were misleading, a higher speed of evolving disease. And here's the discussion. Government communication concentrated on delivering information through traditional media like the radio, television, and newspaper, leaving out social media platforms, which had a huge impact, especially to the youths. Consistency media presence improve delivery of COVID-19 information. Here are the statistic of online usage of media. There were 21.75 million internet users in Kenya. There were 11,000 million social media users in Kenya as of January, and 2.2 million users, which was an increase by 25% between 2020 and 2021. The number of social media users in Kenya was equivalent to 20% of the total population. Communication strategy through daily briefing that focused on data, particularly infection rate and death, were increasingly ignored. Vernacular radio stations played key roles in breaking down health information at the local level. Social media heavily influenced negatively and positively government efforts to provide COVID-19 information. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Let us appreciate them better, please. There is so much about COVID and the media. In fact, if you comb through even the online scholarly spaces, you'll find quite a lot. So this is the time for it. Our next presentation is from Blair Okeo. Blair is doing it with Eugene Onyango. And their subject of presentation is to do with the Kenya film industry, trends, challenges, and opportunities for growth. You're welcome. Blair, just for the reminder, it is 10 minutes. And the timekeeper seems to be very strict going forward. I know it's because it's past lunch hour and people are hungry. So kindly, just take your time.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, we are going to present on the Kenyan film industry. Basically, we are going to look at the trends, challenges, and opportunities for growth. That is what we are going to look at today.
So, over the past 2 years, the world has been faced by numerous challenges due to the impact of COVID-19. Many industries had to close down due to the pandemic. For this reason, unprecedented disruptions occurred in different industries around the world. The film industry in Kenya in particular faced tremendous challenges with the closure of movie theaters, drama festivals being cancelled indefinitely, film releases being delayed indefinitely, and the postponement of most production activities. For this reason, many content creators opted to go online to create content. The online space was flocked by numerous filmmakers who not only wanted to entertain the public, but also in the process, sustain their lives due to the impact of the pandemic. To an unexpected audience, the online space was full with audiences who wanted to quench their thirst in the entertainment industry. So this paper basically looks at the impact that COVID-19 had on the film industry and the opportunities that are there after the COVID-19. So as everyone knows, that when COVID came into existence, as I have mentioned in what I've read earlier, is that one, we witnessed that the drama festivals that were usually being offered in both secondary and universities and also primary, they were postponed indefinitely due to the pandemic. That is one. Also, we were movies that we wanted to watch, maybe season 2, season 3, season 4. We could not get new releases of movies also due to the pandemic. So this paper majorly deals on the challenges and opportunities that we have in the film industry. But that did not limit film to continue. Many people in particular decided to enter into the online space to also continue to portray their content in online. That's why platforms such as TikTok gained a higher people downloading the platform and entering the TikTok to create content, right? So that that did not end the film process or filmmaking process, as many people entered the online space in order to create content. So on the literature review, when COVID came, we had the environment in which the film is one of the challenges that the film industry is facing right now. This was geared towards getting an honest below stand of the environment under the local film production operating within intention of higher understanding the circumstances. They know themselves in similarity because the potential challenges they commonly face, they are going about to exclude their roles. So the environment in which the film industry operates in is quite devastating in Kenya, to be specific, because we find that yesterday we were by a speaker by the Kenyan Film Commission came, And it is true to say that the environment through which Kenyan content creators, Kenyan actors perform in is not that best compared to what other countries provide in the film industry. We have not yet reached the level at which our country can sell their products internationally. So that is one of the challenges that hinders the film industry in Kenya in its environment as a whole. It's a challenge that actually the Kenyan Film Classification Board should look into it and try to address the issue. Another issue is lack of financial. Okay, the film industry lacks funds actually to create a movie. You know, to create film, to create content, you need to have funds to take into your daily activities. So we as Kenyan, in the Kenyan film industry, we don't have enough funds that can help us to deliver content, that can help us to make good content, that can help us even compete with other countries in the film industry. That has been a challenge, and that is why I remember very well yesterday, there was a question which was raised by one of the speakers that the importation tax imposed on these equipments which you use to shoot, they are so high. That is why many people cannot enter into the filmmaking industry, because the duties that are being paid when we import these particular equipments, they are so high. But purchasing them outside is cheaper. But what makes these things hard for us to get is the duty imposed. So that's why we were asking the Film Classification Board if they could impose a bill or something that will say that maybe these equipments which we use, cameras, tripods, for making film, will be made, let's say, eased so that people can be able to acquire more of these equipment and use them in their filmmaking process. I think Eugene can continue from there. Thank you.
So I'll take it from there. So next thing, we are going to look at opportunities in Kenyan film. And then we all know that as the Kenyan film industry evolves, so will be the public who are watching that particular film. As you know that what is good will automatically sell, isn't it? If you are doing something good, automatically that thing will sell. So what we are going to look at here, we are going to look at how to, the first thing, opportunity that we are going to talk about is finding funds for investors. For example, if you want to venture into film, first thing you are supposed to know how to get funds for that particular film of yours that you are going to do. For example, if I can take example of people who are venturing into film like Crazy Kena. All of you know Crazy Kena, isn't it? For Crazy Kena to build a brand that is now called Crazy Kena, he didn't just reach there for hivi sindio. First thing, you must have some funds in order for you to reach at that particular place. So, for example, now Crazy Kena is looking for investors, for those investors to do what? To support him in his particular, the work that he is doing. So you should find funds from the investors, meaning that you should seek funds from investors. Next thing, you should understand the potential of your audience. We should understand that our audience is the main attraction when we are creating our film. For example, if I'm creating a film that is for the students are my audience. So meaning that I should understand the audience that I'm creating that particular film to. I cannot create a film that is for the student and then I sell it to our parents there at home, isn't it? So the film you should know your audience and sell that film, particular film to those particular audience that you are supposed to sell them to. So you should understand the potential of your audience. The next thing we're going to talk about the methodology of our research. Most basically, in our methodology, we look at questionnaires and interviews. And from the questionnaires and interviews, the result of our research, the first result we came up with, the lack of opportunity for exhibition and distribution. Most of our filmmakers here in the country lack opportunities for exhibition and distribution. Like, for example, here in Kabarak, we have several filmmakers. Even me, I'm a filmmaker. But I don't have that opportunity to sell my film outside. Because even if you look at the school is offering, in the Department of Mass Communication, they don't offer film, isn't it? Film is not offered as a course. Like, for example, if you go to other universities, you find that film is offered as a course. So if you want to venture in film, you find it difficult to maybe continue with that career of yours. Because here you are going to learn journalism and not film. So that is kind of a hard thing. Then next, from our discussion or from our result of questionnaires that we asked, we found out that there is some lack of proper training. As I've said, that most of our universities here in the country don't offer film as a course. They don't offer film as a course. For example, Kabarak is offering mass communication, not film. So that is kind of a problem. So what we can say that at least they should offer film as a course so that those people who want to do film can venture into it. Recommendation, from our results, we recommend that government should not impose tight control in Kenya film industries. And then also we recommend that corporate entities and government should chip in to support the film industry.
And that is the end of our presentation. So, just as my presenter earlier said, that COVID also, he was also a content creator on YouTube, but Corona made him not continue his content creation on YouTube, and thus he ventured into making content on TikTok. So, my dear audience, I pledge you, if you can log into TikTok, search the name Eugenius, and follow him. You'll see he creates good content, and you can also share his content. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Blair and Eugene. When I heard their presentation, I think I developed interest, especially the last bit when they have been talking about recommendations. And there is something that Eugene said, that sometimes you can have a film, but you do not have an outlet, some kind of a platform on which you can anchor it for your audience. Maybe, Eugene, I should ask you this so that you think about, okay? For whom did you make the film? Those are very important question when it comes to content creation, right? Because if you had a specific audience in your mind, the audience will come for the film. But if you made it for the general audience, then the general audience may not come, right? And then part of the recommendation you talked about the government should relax the tight restriction on film control. Now in research, you may have now to unpack, what do you mean tight? Okay? So in such a case, you're supposed just to pinpoint, should do A, B, C, D. But that general kind of statement may not really be understood very well. Otherwise, it's a good thing. Clap for them as we invite, this one is who? Oh, our next presentation is Strategic Communication in Post-COVID-19 Pandemic. That is the last one, anyway. From Fred Kerata, Derek Waidaka, and Mary is Martha Mokeira. Kerata, you've been the timekeeper yourself. So that one, I leave it there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Martha Mokera, and with me I have my fellow presenter, Fred Kerata, and our question was about strategic communication in a post-COVID world, and I'm going to head straight on the introduction. The World Health Organization declared COVID-19 to officially be a pandemic on 11th March 2020 after 3 months when China broke out the first outbreak of coronavirus in December 2019 in Wuhan city. So here in Kenya, most of you know how we were affected. Authorities announced the closure of all schools and university, apply distance learning methods. All gatherings and prayers were suspended in all churches and mosques. Aviation authorities suspended all flights from and to the state. The government announced a program for distinction by sterilization of streets and advised citizens and residents to stay home and keep social distance protocols in public places to ensure safety.
Under the literature review, we began by defining what is strategic communication. Strategic communication is a two-way process that involves messages delivered via appropriate platforms tailored for diverse audiences. The process played a pivotal role in enabling the dissemination and spread of aptly refined news about COVID-19. According to the World Health Organization 2017, developed certain framework to quickly connect with people across the globe. This is due to misinformation which was reaching people during the COVID-19 pandemic. You all know of those misinformations. I have no time to explain that, but currently, the most frequent practiced communication assessment at World Health Organization focus on the monitoring website, traffic, news, and social media. This is helpful because it is helpful in establishing trends over time and also know how the press release reaches specific audiences. The measurements to be considered should be used consistently to indicate the effectiveness of particular communication tactics, strategies, and intervention. This framework focuses on two key areas. The first area is that evaluating how well World Health Organization communication fulfill the principle of effective communication. Another one is evaluating campaigns and other complex communication interventions. By developing and evaluating certain frameworks, a mutual understanding and acceptance has been created on how to keep the community safe during the post-COVID-19 pandemic. As seen from the impact of the virus due to the number of deaths, economic, social, and environmental issues, without communication, there's misinformation, which has led to the uncertainty and anxiety. But news from trusted sources make individuals keep away from delusions, rumors, and alternatives facts. The current pandemic has posed many challenges facing media, government, and health communication organizations. And under the objectives, my colleague will take you through.
And to our objectives, the first one, to explore the strategies and practices of government communication for health purposes during the risk of COVID-19 pandemic, to reveal the types of information provided to the community and individuals by government and media. And the last one is to reveal the main communication strategies used by the government during the pandemic. For example, the daily presidential and minister press briefing, Ministry of Health website designated for COVID-19 information. And into our findings, the government therefore should actively coordinate with global and local organizations to implement health awareness campaign to help in curbing the virus. The use of social media, where the Ministry of Health has launched an awareness part on its website entitled Your Health Our Priority to publish information about the current COVID-19. And to our methodology, this information we collected from secondary sources and consisting of various conference papers and reports, policy briefs, website, and other reliable publications that provide analysis of strategic communication in understanding strategic communication in a post-COVID-19 pandemic.
And in the conclusion is that we concluded that misinformation takes root where there is void, and it is imperative to fill the voids around COVID-19 with actionable guidance, not just statements of principle. Again, to put the entitled policies, policymakers and other public figures must bring policy alignment with public health recommendations, and public health officials, including the CDC, that is the Center for Disease Control, must be allowed to help guide the communication campaigns aimed at giving people a better sense of control over the risk they and their family face. To be effective, public health strategy needs to confront the reality that some people will engage in behavior that endangers their health or health of others. Until the biomedical tools such as vaccines or treatments are developed and widely available for people's behavior, and their willingness to follow the public health and social measures remain the most powerful weapons to stop the spread of the virus. Thank you. That's the end of our presentation.
Okay, give them a better applause because they're, I think they make up the last presentation, especially from the students' fraternity. If there is any group that is forgotten, maybe we can know. And if there is, then that means we shall opt for the Zoom option. May I take this opportunity, first of all, to thank all those who have presented. I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank the students who have stuck here with us through that presentation. It's encouraging, and this is a pointer to a better team of scholars coming in the coming days. So I want to rest my case, even as I seek direction from whoever that is to take it up. Thank you, Dr. Ari, kindly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Would you clap for your colleagues? Wow. Yeah, I remember I went through those presentations when they were in the abstract stages. I realized that we have a lot of potential from you people. So I'm looking forward that next year's conference, most of you will have presentations. Sindio? Then another thing we are going to do next year, we will diversify the presentations so that there are posters, you can come and display your innovations. Those who have been working maybe can present their portfolio, those who are writers. Si mtataka hiyo? And then, sisi tujitoe. Hello? Sasa unajua tutashinda hapa tukiwatisha-tisha na presentation zetu mzuri, si ndio? na sisi tumetosheka, tumekuwa researchers. So we are going to create a room for that. So I want to thank our presenter who was here, our guest, Dr. Rosemary. She's already left. In her absentia, simweke mikono pamoja. Yeah. And before we go online, because online is another dynamic, we also want to thank all the participant students, whether you presented a paper or you were here listening to the presentation. I am looking at you and I can see the remnants of you who are after this going to proceed for their masters and their PhDs, and then mimi nitakuwa babu. Pigieni makofi babu. Yeah. And we are ready to do that. And then we can also not forget the management, the Directorate, Research, Innovation and Outreach, and also our lecturers who have worked so hard to make this event successful. Muwapigie makofi pia. Of course, I know one person to thank profusely is that lady umeona ameingia hapo amebeba bakuri. Sio kwa sababu angekulia upande ule, but because she is working hard to make sure things are happening. Dr. Ruth Owino. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Yeah, so she's worked very hard. We are, as a department, very proud of her. And we know even next year it will be better. Yeah, it will be better. And what we have said, we are going to be more creative, more innovative to make this presentation better. You must have seen in the program I was to present. I'm not presenting because I decided to offer that presentation slots to you students. Sasa si tunashindanga na nyinyi class. Nani hatujawahi kutana class? Hivyo tu ndivyo ningeongea hapa kama ninafunza tu. I will do that in class. Maybe now I will be doing it online. So if you miss it, maybe we will catch up another time. So thank you very much. Now we are going to move to online presentation. Keep waiting. Let me tell you, in the future, you are not likely to find the time you are having. Hawezi elewa. Mimi nikitoka hapa nje, ninaitwa na mama. Mtoto ni mgonjwa. Nani ameitwa? Eva umeitwa kitu kama hiyo. So I am easily disrupted. But you people, you have all the time. Utilize this time to listen to things like this. They mold you. I was telling Dr. Rosemary that my first time to go to a conference, I was in third year. And I was given a chance to ask a question in a conference. That was the biggest turnaround. There are places where you are not allowed to enter into a conference. Lakini mimi nilijificha hivi nikaingia na nikauliza swali. And it was my turnaround. So thank you very much for listening. Keep listening. And as we continue with the online presentations, remember tomorrow we said we are also having a session with Mr. Low Jones very early in the morning for 1.5 hours. He is going to also do another presentation. And then you can link with him, those who were here yesterday. So are we ready for online? Yeah. Ni nyinyi nimeuliza. Yeah. Get your smartphone, enter, register. Nothing in life is mandatory. It's like asking, is it mandatory for me to succeed? No. But it is good, it is advisable, it is commendable. Yeah. So, mumeingia online? Huh? Yeah. So I think that's okay. So, Dr. Ruth. Okay, before you go and connect from wherever you are, let us pray. Kumbukanga maombi. Hello? Yeah, acheni tuombe. Father, in the name of Jesus, God, we give you all the glory and all the honor. Thank you for making this conference successful. We commit even the remaining session unto your able hands. We pray that, God, this is going to be successful. I pray for each and every person who have participated from yesterday and even today. I also pray especially for the students, the people for whom this conference is made. I pray for them and each one of them, those who have been away and those who are here. May a special blessing follow them in every aspect of their life. May you be their provider. May you bless them. May you meet them at their need in the name of Jesus Christ. And now, as we depart to go to online session, we pray that, God, you give us the grace to continue. You give us the knowledge, understanding, and even the patience that we need so that we may learn from other presenters. Bless each one of us. Bless the management, this university. We thank you because of them. Continue, oh God, to give them the spirit that they have had to make this event successful. And each and every person who has participated, God, we are thankful because it is because of you that it has all gone well. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray and believe. Amen.